and welcome to The Natural List. I'm your host, Adrienne Smith. I'm here today with guest co-host Meredith Kaufman, and we're joined by a very special guest, John Coletta, the CEO of Clover Sonoma. But before we get started on our interview today, I want to give a special thanks to our sponsors, Bimbo Bakeries USA and OM Mushroom Superfood. Bimbo Bakeries USA bakes brands families know and trust, like Sara Lee Bread, Thomas's, Entenmann's, Oro Wheat, Little Bites, and Ballpark. They're baked and delivered every day by more than 20,000 associates across the country. Bimbo Bakeries USA is a proud part of Grupo Bimbo, the world's largest baking company, with operations in 39 countries. The company's purpose of nourishing a better world is brought to life through its work to improve health and wellness, protect the environment, support the communities where they live and serve, and by valuing associates. John, lovely to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks, Adrienne and Meredith. Glad to be here. Appreciate the time.
So you were just saying that you used to live in Boulder, Colorado, where New Hope is based. Are you from this area?
I'm from Southern California, and too many John Denver songs. Rocky Mountain High. Moved in 1990. Raised 3 kids there. Very happy there, and then found my way to this beautiful North Bay area, which has its own charm. So yeah. 30 years there.
Petaluma, not too shabby, I would say.
Not too shabby. If I could go back, and that's the dream.
Yeah, I was just in that area in September. I attended an event called Ripple Fest, and it was just right around the corner from you. And gosh, what a beautiful part of the world.
If you're a cow, you want to be here.
I believe it. Well, I'm so excited to talk to you today. We've talked a ton about dairy on this show in the past 6 months. Year. I mean, dairy has been a super exciting category to watch the last couple of years. I pulled up a little bit of data before you joined from Nutrition Business Journal. We just launched their new State of Natural and Organic report. And so this is category growth. And I'm looking at dairy in natural and organic food and beverage, 9.7% in 2025 growth, and looking at an estimated 8.4% in 2026. I mean, those numbers are huge, far above the benchmark for the natural products industry. What's going on with dairy, John? It's exciting.
Well, first of all, I picked it. I've been here 2 years. I picked a good time to come.
Yeah,
Every now and then, you want to be on the uptick. I think it's people getting smarter, learning. Certainly there's habits that are changing, GLP-1s, all that kind of stuff. But certainly I think people are on to the whole and natural foods do something more for you. I still think people have a long ways to go to understand the food matrix, the dairy matrix, but I believe our gut brain health thing is making and connecting the dots and starting to realize that dairy has some pretty wonderful things, as proven by the fact that those blue zones out there have a certain amount of dairy. People are starting to figure out that dairy has something in it. And I truly believe, and that dairy has so many different ways to express itself. Yogurt, cheese, etc. So many ways.
Yeah, that's been one of the most exciting things to see is just, I would say a couple of years ago, we saw innovation in dairy really in sustainability, in sourcing. I mean, Clover Sonoma, you were already there, but we've seen that kind of across the board. Now it feels like there's a lot of new exciting products coming out. So I know we want to talk about innovation a little bit later, but I feel like we should dig in a little bit further. Meredith, I don't want to talk the whole time. Do you want to hit John a question?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so Adrienne, you kicked things off with some stats about growth in dairy, but I want to go back in time a little bit to when most of us were maybe thinking that like nut milks were the hot new thing. And dairy has also had an interesting trajectory in the US. There's obviously been a lot of decline in the number of dairy farms. As you alluded to, dairy's now back. I want to know, like, what lessons can the broader CPG industry learn about adapting to evolving consumer preferences? Like, dairy is very popular again. So how do you kind of stay resilient throughout those peaks and plateaus?
I think the more you know, right? And so I'm trying to create a culture here of awareness. If I talk 2 hot topics, nutrition and even sustainability, 2 hot topics here. I believe we have this talk of geeking out. If you don't geek out on what's behind it, I don't know, first of all, how you know, even you don't have a chance to look out into the future and know what's coming next or know what should come next. I think you have to assume, hopefully we're getting smarter over time, right? So I think the first things first is having your team, fully understand, especially if you're in the food business, nutrition, nutritional basics. And in your category, if it's plant, nothing against plant, but if it's plant, know what the puts and takes or the insides outs are of plant itself. So it starts there, I believe, in having a really deep rooted understanding of that. And the other thing I would add real quick, Meredith, is the first 6 months I got here is the first thing I had to do. We have 10 categories. Can you imagine? Only dairy company I know that does cheese and ice cream and yogurt and kefir and butter and milk and cream. And I could keep going. The first thing we did was we all got around the table and we learned about how things were made. And it was so cool. Like, how is yogurt made? You can make it at home in an Instapot. How is cheese made? How are things made? Okay, get out all the competition. Okay, get our label, get their label. Like, really go through this deep understanding of what is it? Who are we? Who are the others? And then also with the backdrop of nutrition in your category and the nutritional basics. If you have all that, you can kind of hopefully at least, first of all, know where you stand in the competitive set, know what's happening around you, and think about what might come next. Heck, you might be able to lead what's next. We could talk about that in a few minutes. I think some things are coming, I hope, and we want to try to lead there.
Did you say 13 categories?
What the 10? Well, we
10.
debate how 10. Do I?
I won't hold. We won't hold you to it.
Whipped cream a category. I don't know. But
I think it is. I think it's a whole food group. So 10-ish categories. Where are you seeing the most growth or the most excitement, both from within Clover Sonoma, but also just externally in the market?
I mean, first of all, you quoted the growth rates in milk. And remember back, the whole Got Milk campaign was slow the decline. And it never did go to zero and up. It was slower decline. And so now we are on that uptrend, but it's even more so. You quoted the growth rate, 8-10%. So it's more so in organic, by the way. So just so you know, it's even more so on the organic side because people are also looking for cleaner. I think organic's about what's not in your food. So they're looking for that as well. But there's some hot categories. One of the very hottest that we're not in. So when you talk innovation, my team goes to just get in the game and subcategories. Flavored creamers are probably the single 15-17% growth. It was, if I go back when I started, it was cottage cheese and it was Greek yogurt had the highest double-digit growth. And then right now, for some reason, because not a lot of people are into the quality flavored creamers, those are a hot topic that we're going to try to get into. Organic, real vanilla. Who does that? Organic, real vanilla, fresh. Who does that? So we do. So, just hot categories. Certainly cottage cheese, the high protein, the Greek yogurts, anything that's got, say, 15 grams or more in its respective serving is getting a lot of attention. Some things should get more attention. I think kefir's the most magic food, and I'm waiting for that to take off. South America, Europe, other countries seeing higher growth rates and things like that. I just think the probiotics and the culture counts and all that are stunning. I think hopefully kefir will see an uproar here soon.
I'm a big kefir fan.
Amen.
I am too. I
Drink
just
it straight
had some
from the
kefir.
bottle. My husband thinks it's gross when I do that.
Amazing.
But I don't. John, I hear you talk a lot about innovation as a way to kind of stay resilient in the industry, but I also heard you allude to education as a huge component of what you do at Clover. And I want to know, what does that look like? How do you speak directly with consumers to educate them about the benefits of dairy and, moreover, the benefits of organic dairy? What does that look like?
Well, first of all, I thought of just hitting the streets. We have these new mobile experience vans we're buying to get out and set up camp with stool and a fake pasture, and treat people with products and educate them. We have a carton here that, used to have missing children in the day. Now that's Amber Alert, right? And we have all this great space to do something with. We're trying with our current QR code to have experiential stuff, but we have a chance to use really unique billboards to educate. But Meredith, we started talking, how can we go on a journey? How dare we go on a journey to educate others without knowing ourselves? And we have 300 employees, and I feel like we need to geek out before we can ask other people to geek out. If I ask people here to explain the greenhouse effect, what is carbon? I asked a room full of people, is carbon a good thing or a bad thing? How many think it's bad? Majority bad. Carbon is life. And so, you know what I'm saying? We need to go on a journey first ourselves and geek out. And then I think we're going to figure out how to use these great assets to educate. So we're still on a journey to try to do that. I'm way into doing things like this. I love sharing little tidbits about little like anecdotals. Like, did you know one day's cow manure is enough energy to take an EV car 100 miles or do 20 loads of wash? So let's do something
didn't
with
know
that.
that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I love those geeky little anecdotal
I love
thingies,
it.
but we've got to figure out that kind of stuff to make it simple, right? Really simple. So it starts at home and we're on a journey. Like I just decided we were going to have a geek certificate. Like I think in 2026, we'll be figuring it out. And the 2027, we'll be rolling out our own geek squad, if you will.
OM Mushrooms, founded in 2010 by preventative medicine expert Dr. Sandra Carter and mycologist Stephen Farrar, creates organic mushroom supplements designed to support a wide range of functional benefits, including cognitive function, gut health, energy, and overall well-being. Grown in a BRCGS AA rated facility in Vista, California, their products deliver full spectrum purity and potency. OM's available nationwide at retailers including Whole Foods Market, Sprouts, and Walmart, blending ancient wisdom with modern science to make mushrooms accessible for everyday use for one and all. So what are some of the big challenges that you're seeing in dairy right now?
I'll tell you what, over the weekend, I'm sitting here because it's getting tough out there. I started to say, I'm so lucky I came in during, I'm so lucky this is going to be great. Well, there's supply and there's demand, right? So demand's here. And what's happening on the supply side, talk a little bit about that and the farmer, the supply and the farmer. And on the supply side, everyone wants protein, right? And I'm just a big believer in get the protein as close to nature as you can. There are people people love the bioavailability of whey protein, of dairy protein. They're starting to figure out that plant protein's good, but the bioavailability, people are chasing whey-based products, concentrates, isolates. And what they're doing is taking all of our organic milk or even conventional milk and powdering it up, turning it into protein and putting it in bread, crackers, non-dairy things. And so our beautiful dairy, where I want to use it in dairy products, is going everywhere. And God bless, protein is hot everywhere. But all of a sudden, to make it in these more beautiful, well, I shouldn't say more beautiful, in these beautiful dairy products, I have to fight to keep it or pay more. And all of a sudden, I'm just not sure how much people want to pay on the shelf for dairy products, but it's getting hard out there on the supply side, really hard. The beauty in that is people are paying more now for milk and the farmer's starting to get more pay. So a little supply problem. On the farmer side, it's been really brittle since I started. Farmers paying bills, keeping up with environmental, keeping up with activists, to be honest with you. The day in the life, I'm having this every Friday is Friday with the Farmer. And I sit down with the latest generation, on average, third or fourth generation. And quite often their kid just came in sweating from the field. And the kid's like, I don't know if I want to do this. Why? Well, financially, it's tough. I mean, day in the life, it's tough. I mean, all the regulations and the audits, it's tough. And so, the closure rate on farms is monumental, especially up here in the rolling hills. It's less so in the big, more confined, large farms across America. In these beautiful rolling hills where somebody would love their land, it's hard. And so I'm really proud, though, that the pay price has gone up to make a better day in the life of a farmer, by the way. I'm proud of that. You would think, don't I want to keep my costs low? What I really want is people to pay the right price for some of these dairy products and for the farmer to get what is needed so that they can stay alive better. So two strains, really, the farmer level and the supply level, and trying to keep that dairy protein in dairy best I can. Best I can. I got a lot of new stuff I want to go chase. I have a lot of new stuff.
Do you think those challenges are even more present in organic, or because it feels like to me, I mean, you talked about growth and organic being so strong, and it feels like to me the market is swinging towards organic more and more. So I'm just wondering, are those challenges kind of across the board, or are organic farmers feeling it more dearly than maybe conventional?
It's a finite thing, in organic, I want you to picture rolling hills. We do regenerative organic, by the way. We have the most regenerative organic acres in all of California. I think it's 25,000 acres. So to do that kind of farming is very finite. You can't do it. It's too arid. It's too dry. You can't get the days on pasture. So it's supply and demand. It's a very limited supply. And so picture room to roam and all that kind of stuff to have pasture. So it's really in the pockets of the Northwest, the pockets of upstate New York, the pockets of Vermont. You can picture the pockets. It's almost Ireland, although it's probably hard to beat Ireland. So it's just supply and demand, Adrienne. It's supply and demand. And so those pockets are just finite. And to be honest with you, the cost of organic is so much greater because now your grain feeds a lot more. It's non-GMO. It's nothing sprayed on the cornfield or any of those things on the hay field. It's just harder. And so if the math isn't right, the math is harder and the music's harder. And the music is really finite. So it's absolutely harder. And what's keeping me up at night is I want this beautiful North Bay where we're close to the cow to not go away. And if it goes away, you're going to have milk coming from Idaho. And I love Idaho. Milk coming from New York. Some does. Some milk travels to New York on a truck. Well, come on. And these are good people. I know them, but we're going to lose that local fresh thing. Yes, it's much harder. It's much harder.
So, John, Clover Sonoma has been around for, I think, over 100 years at this point, which is absolutely amazing. And we've talked a little bit about some of the challenges in dairy. What do you think has really allowed this specific company to be so resilient? I mean, 100 years is a really long time for absolutely any company, especially in CPG. There's only a few legacy natural products brands that I can really think of at this point in time. So talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I was handed something I probably wouldn't have figured out. I'm not as smart as the predecessors, but Nourish and Love is the umbrella. Nourish and Love to everything we do. And if you look at the clean foods, like I haven't found anyone, and I'm out there talking to the industry, that has the level of clean, fresh milk that if the gut brain works, people love. We're the number one milk brand and dairy brand by far in NorCal. Where we reach, we don't reach everywhere. So people have figured out it tastes better, I feel better. So the Nourish is out there, so people reach for it because it's really good stuff. And I mean stuff like it's really weird. I got here and someone had a poster for a campaign and it said, Clover, less bacteria tastes better. I said, we can't say that. People don't even know. There is natural bacteria and everything, and it is cleaner. But once you say less bacteria, you know what I'm saying? It's really, really clean, good, fresh milk. And I think people know it is one. So it's survived for its goodness, but no one does what we do in the community. And people know that this brand cares. We give back 5%, almost $800,000 a year to the community. We show up at the fair. We show up at, community events. We write checks to good causes. We donate to all the food banks. We do 80,000 kid milks a day at a subsidy that loses a lot because we don't think it's losing. I think people know, oh, these guys care. Oh, these guys are an impact brand. Find me an impact brand across all the impacts. There are some impact brands that just talk sustainability. We do that, and then we talk community, and then we talk the cow. We talk about the farmer. I just think people get it, and it's a passion brand. I don't know. Pete's Coffee, I worked before this, was the only other passion brand. Like people freak for Pete's, people freak for Clover. And I think if you're out there nourishing and loving, people get it. My challenge, spreading that. Can you really go up to Oregon and Washington with a long fishing line and nourish and love?
Well, I certainly loved what you said earlier about the, having all that real estate on the milk carton to tell that story. I think that is one of the things that is so impactful for consumers is being able to read that story. And milk cartons, I mean, what better place in CPG than to tell that story than on the side of a milk carton? So I think that always has a big impact on consumers. And obviously, we've talked about challenges. That's kind of one of the big things on everybody's mind in CPG right now. But I'd love to also hear about opportunities. I don't know if you can share what's in the pipeline or just in general, what kind of opportunities do you think that there might be in dairy, whether it's kind of conceptual sustainability opportunities or is it, specific product lines? You mentioned the flavored creamers. Love to hear just your thoughts on that.
I mean, for us, and I'm going to move to the industry more importantly, for us, it's products and reach. Like, I think we will go down to SoCal and Pacific Northwest in a very fresh our way. And then I think it's the product stuff, which I'll talk about, to do the next level of daily nourishment. But I think the industry from the farm to the shelf, on the farm side, I mentioned earlier intentionally that on the farm side, we can do better in our sustainability footprint. I think we can do better on our welfare and on our earth care at the farm. And I think it's coming. On the welfare, I think we need more constant high standards, audits, third parties, just keeping ourselves all honest and aware that the cow, we got to care about the cow. Our stakeholder in this is the cow too. And so I think the industry, we care more about life. You can't keep, a killer whale in captivity anymore. Over time, we're getting smarter and more caring. And I think that'll spill over even into the farm and the care standards for the cow. Watch that happen more and more, care for the cow. But I think also on the farm, look, the containment of cows, which you need to do to get milk, has manure involved, has methane involved. By the way, far less methane on 40 million cows. Funny, people like to talk methane on cows because they breathe and they do things out the other side that creates methane. There are 40 million cows. We got rid of 60 million buffalo a long time ago, and they're ruminants. So listen, animals, yes, have methane. So, but I think you can do things to mitigate. And I think, like I said, on purpose, one day's manure from a cow is enough to energize 100 miles of an EV or 20 minutes of laundry load. I think we're going to learn how to take methane in a whole new way that hasn't been done. Mark my words, I'm kind of involved in some of that to create energy. And then it's going to be, this farm doesn't just feed us, it fuels us. Watch for that. I promise it's coming. Then on the food side, I think it's just going to be unleashing nutrients, and it's going to get just cleaner and cleaner. we want to come out in 2027 with the first drinkable protein drink that's truly clean, that's real vanilla, fine one, that's got, not cutting corners. I think it's cutting corners going to stevia and monk fruit and these high aggressive sugars that we say aren't artificial, but they're aggressive on your insulin. I think we're going to get just better and better and smarter on those foods that we put in there and just how clean we make it. So I won't go much more into that, but I think our 2027 launch of drinkable proteins will be second to none. And then I think I just want to say another thing. California is forcing it, and I think it's a good thing. They're forcing dramatic change in packaging. I don't know why anybody's followed. Nobody has followed. The only in the industry renewable carton, right? There's no fossil fuels involved in this. The plant-based liner, the FSC, regenerated forest paperboard. Nobody
That's
has a
amazing.
carton. I don't know why. We like to be the first, but we assume people will follow. Nobody. Everybody wanted a plastic lid. Okay, we did it. It's plastic. By next year, I hope to say this is plant-based. If I'm lucky, this is going to go. And then the whole thing is renewable. But nobody has that carton. And our plastic jugs, nobody, tell me why, nobody has 30% post-consumer recycled plastic. It's 30. Do I want it to be 40, 50? I'm working on it. You got to start somewhere. Nobody has. This is probably one of the most egregious things in the industry is a number 5 yogurt cup plastic. I'm trying to teach my team what a number 5 plastic cup is. Hard to recycle. Nobody went out and came up with an 80% paper-based yogurt cup. 80% paper. By this time next year, I hope to tell you I have a plastic-free, fully compostable, working on it, be the first to have plastic-free, fully compostable yogurt cup by this time next year. So I think we need to talk about the full sustainability footprint. And I hope people start measuring what true sustainability is. They do not. I can't tell you how good we are. If I could come up with one measure, we're working on it. Well, how sustainable are you? I think we're going to work on how sustainable are you. I won't geek out on that unless you ask me, but I think we could do a better job on how sustainable are you.
Adrienne, I feel like our minds are both going to the same place right now. John, we have a Nexty category for environmentally sustainable packaging. So we hope you'll tell your story next year in the Nexties for the packaging innovation. But I do have actually a quick question that I was already thinking about, and then you just kind of teed it up perfectly, which is California is obviously like a very high regulatory environment, right? So it's interesting that there's a concentration of dairy in California, but at the same time, it's like the regulations drive innovation. So I'm curious, like, what is the relationship between the two, and how does that really allow Clover Sonoma to be kind of cutting edge? You were just saying, you have these laws in place. It's kind of driving more innovation, but yet you hear this conversation a lot in capitalist business industry that regulation is not a good thing. What's that balance between the two? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I say a lot, the invisible hand doesn't really work. It's a good idea. But I mean, you believe it's just human nature. I think we need little pushes, little nudges, right? We won't get into politics and how much hand, but I don't think it can be invisible. And, and so I think we're the ones always trying to look out in our value statement, which is several values. One of them is betterment, constant betterment for all of our impact pillars. And I won't get into them, but it's everything from footprint, community, sustainability, all those things. And if you're out there looking for it, then you're not necessarily being nudged. You're kind of ahead of the nudge. We've been ahead of the nudge. California has the highest standards, higher than the federal standard on how clean your milk has to be. Remember I told you our milk's cleaner? It's many times cleaner than even the California standard. We didn't need it. Other people needed the nudge. On this SB 54, we're already chasing non-plastic containers and things. So we're already ahead of it. Others are going to get nudged along. We want them to follow. So I'm sure we've had, I can't think of any top of mind, our nudges that we weren't nudging ourselves, but I think it's good to have. I think SB 54, clean milk, water standards, farm standards, it's all more aggressive than the rest of the country. But folks like us, we're already chasing some of those things, is all I would say. And others are going to have to follow. And, will it kick us any faster? Yeah, I suppose it will. I suppose it'll have us visit all categories. So we visited in a couple categories. Are we visiting in our sour cream cup and things like that? No. Could we? Should we? Yeah, it might move us faster. Sure.
Well, this was so fantastic. If you knew me, you'd know that your comment about stevia and a protein drink that has none of that stuff in it. You're speaking my language. I'm so excited to try that when it comes out. Yes. And having driven by your place in Petaluma just recently, I can attest to the fact that your cows are extremely happy. I mean, what a beautiful part of the world to be in. And it's just been such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for being here. It's been wonderful. I hope our paths cross again soon. And thanks for watching The Naturalist.